And good morning. We are here the final day of Summer Smash here in St. Louis, and we are about to go train back and legs at Rich Piana's gym, the House of Pain. Very excited for this session. I think that they're going to have a lot of really cool equipment in there. I think it's going to be a very cool environment, but it's also, you know, this is just it's a long session. It's a big one. It usually takes anywhere from 3.5 to 4 hours generally, depending on who I'm with, depending on who I'm talking to. So this is going to be a lot of fun, but we also need to get moving because it's already a little bit past 10 o'clock. And we need to make sure that we're getting to Summer Smash, which starts at 3 o'clock. So we got a lot of big stuff on the docket for today. We'll do some type of like a chest supported row. The RDL is now in for the stiff leg. So that's going to be the main priority movement of the session. So probably we'll try to hold on to moving 405 on the RDL for as long as we possibly can. Woke up again this morning at 182.6. So creeping into the low 180s now, which is a place that I have genuinely not been since probably maybe a couple weeks after the 2022 prep. I came back out of the 170s pretty quickly. Probably a little bit too fast. So, but yeah, we're back there now. Look better than we ever, and we'll continue to chip away on a week-by-week basis. Food has literally not changed since we started prep, because at no point have I stopped losing weight. So, yeah, we're gonna continue to do the do, and we're gonna go in for this session here at the House of Pain. Guys, we're at the House of Pain gym today in St. Louis. This is an old school classic bodybuilding gym. Tons of great pieces here that I haven't seen in most gyms. Stuff that's generations old, but it's kept in really, really good shape. They got strongman stuff here, they got powerlifting, all kinds of stuff. So we're gonna hit the back and leg session like we typically do on Saturdays. That's gonna have an RDL, it's gonna have the pendulum squat, which is the same machine that they have back at home at Megaflex. So very, very excited for what's to come. We got a gym dog here as well. You know, any good gym is gonna have a gym dog. That just means it's old school and classic. So yeah, we're gonna run through the entirety of the session, so let's get into it. Okay, first piece that we're on is the prime lying leg curl. We have an assortment of machines that we could be picking from here, but this is one of my personal favorites, so we're rocking with this. Even if in a gym where you see that there's 20 different pieces of what you normally do, if they have the machine that you generally hit at the gym that you prefer to go to, sometimes it's a good idea to hit it. And with the other stuff, I even tried the Strive, didn't really like it. So we're gonna rock here, and then we'll move on to the RDL. Generally, I'd say before you go into your hinge, usually it's a good idea to warm up your lats to some degree. Having them engaged, fired up, and ready to go is going to be a big difference. If you're not able to stabilize your lats while you're picking up that heavy weight, you don't want that to be the limiting factor. So before I go into barbell rows on my pull day, I'll have a lat pull down movement, but I don't do that before this session. So what I'll do instead is I will row the first couple warm-ups, empty bar, 135, 225, and really get my lats engaged and fired up. And then the rest of my movements up to the top set are going to be just me practicing the hinge and going through the movement I'm actually going to be doing. So just be mindful of the muscles that you need to engage and warm up before you actually get into the working sets, because they can make a big difference. So we're finished with the RDL. We finished the one set on the pendulum. Just the one set is all we need for today because we typically hit 2 working sets on the quad focus leg day. That is on Tuesdays. That is literally just so that I can touch my quads once, get a little bit of stimulus to them. That way I'm technically kind of hitting them twice a week. So I'll do that pause set that you saw there on the Paramount, which is an old familiar piece for us. Now we're gonna move over to the back focus work, which is gonna include pull downs, rows, rear delts, all that good stuff. right, so we have the old school Strive lat pull down, which is gonna be the earlier version of the Prime. The Prime actually was right across it, so they have multiple generations of the same piece. I've never used the Strive before, so we went ahead and hit that and actually really liked it. Not as free-flowing the handles as the Prime, but still really enjoyed it. Now we're moving over to another old school piece, which is the Flex Leverage. Megan was using the Icarian, which is a Mega Flex classic, but this one I've actually never hit. I've heard really, really good things about this whole line of kit. So we're gonna give it a go. So far in the warm-ups, it's feeling pretty darn good. So we'll hit 2 sets on this and then we'll move over into hip thrusts. All right, back work is done. We are on to the hip thrust set. I've never used this machine before. I'm actually not even familiar with the brand, to be honest. It's a little bit interesting of a setup, but we're only hitting 1 set on it, so it's not the end of the world. I tell people a lot of times that they're neglecting hip thrusts because they'll do the hip hinge, like an RDL or an SLDL or a straight, you know, a deadlift or something like that, but they won't do the hip thrusts. And a lot of times I find that the tightness around my erectors and my hips and all that, it's a lot worse when I don't do the hip thrusts, when I don't do the thrusting movement, because it's so focused on the glutes, especially if you're a guy. 90% of guys are gonna be neglecting their glute work. So make sure that you're hitting your hip thrusts if you're not already. But I also find that it helps bring that whole hip complex back into solid alignment. That way, not only are you gonna be stronger on your RDL and your deadlifts, but you're also gonna make sure that when you get onto stage, if you are a competitor, this is the main thing that it's for, that when you take your side shots, when you take your back shots, that... What? Pause. When you take your shots and your shots from the rear, that doesn't sound much better. You're gonna have fully round glutes. It's not gonna look like you have all quads and no glutes and hamstrings. You don't wanna look like that. So make sure that you're hitting these so that when you get onto stage, you have a fully developed posterior chain. All right, we're on the last bit of work. We just finished up rear delts, we hip thrusts, we've done just about everything under the sun. And now we're rounding out with biceps. The biceps is always something that I tack on to the end because it doesn't require a lot of neural drive, you know? The systemic fatigue that you get from taking your elbow from here to here, not really a heck of a lot. So usually that gets saved to the end. If there comes a point where my arms are a super limiting factor, I may chuck in like an arm and delt day or something, but as of right now, it's not a consideration. My posterior chain needs to grow and be the priority way more than my arms need to be. So that's why we'll start with RDLs. That's why we do hip thrusts. That's why we do pendulum. That stuff all goes at the beginning when I'm fresh, and it requires a lot more. So we'll finish up with a set of bicep curls. We'll go pose, and then we're gonna get a meal in. See how things are looking at officially 18 weeks out from today. Let's spin the head around. Okay. Highly recommend, if you are competing, to make it a regular routine of going through your posing. Practice it, go through all the mandatories, go through your quarter turns. Do that on a regular basis, especially weekly. Don't just hit 2 or 3 poses, call it a day, because you're gonna find yourself very uncomfortable when you get on stage, especially when you're in the last few weeks of prep. You're getting leaner. You don't really want to be learning new things particularly. So try to make sure that you're making an emphasis on just repeating the same things that you learned to do well in your off season when food was high. It's a lot better to keep good habits than to break bad ones and replace them with good ones while you're in the process of getting lean. Use prep to just focus on getting lean, continue to tweak and refine, but don't try to learn your posing a couple weeks out. All right, thank you guys very much for following along with the back and legs day that we had at House of Pain. It was an epic session. Again, 18 weeks out. Thank you for following along with the journey thus far. Pray that you'll continue to be with us week by week as we get leaner, as we get more shredded, as we get hungrier, and as we get closer to stage. So thank you for everybody for supporting. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you in the next one.